Hello, thanks so much for being here and for taking a few minutes to learn a little bit more about our Tune In to Strive Out career wellness program for students. My name is Mindy Thompson. I am a professor and chair of the Department of Counseling Psychology at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'm also the director of the Center for Research on College to Workforce Transitions.
Good afternoon or good morning, evening, depending on when you are tuning into this video or watching this training. My name is Pa He. I am a clinical faculty within the Department of Counseling Psychology and also work closely with Mindy on this project within CCWT. And so we're very excited that you're choosing to join us here for this training. We're going to go through a really brief overview of our Tune In to Strive Out a career wellness program here. We're going to talk a little bit about why we developed this program and then share with you different ways that you can implement this with your students or on your campus and institution and how you can access a lot of the material here. We're also going to walk you through really briefly what the different module looks like or some of the intended outcome for those modules and provide you a sample example of some of the different exercise within each of those modules. So enjoy the rest of this training.
So we want to jump in and just tell you a little bit about who we are and introduce the rest of the members of our team. So as you can see, we have a large team of undergraduate and graduate students in the Department of Counseling Psychology at University of Wisconsin-Madison. And we all are working on our Tune In Labs program and our Tune In to Strive Out program in particular. And we came together as a team to develop this program based on what we knew to be a need, based on the empirical literature and our everyday conversations with students. And we've worked over the past couple of years developing and piloting and testing the program. And we're really excited that we're at a stage where we're ready for the program to be shared with you to be able to utilize with your students and supporting their own career wellness and career development. So a little bit about us as part of Tuned In Labs. Our mission is to empower students with the skills, the self-knowledge, and the know-how to cultivate a career and a life that meets their values, their personal goals, and their ways of knowing. And our goal as a larger group is to broaden the discussion of career readiness to include psychosocial skill development by training students in topics such as career development, entering and navigating the world of work, and engaging in wellness management. And we are part of the Center for College to Workforce Transitions at UW-Madison. So I want to just overview a few pieces that really informed our decision to develop this program and really sort of speak to the need for this program. So one of the things that we all know, and there are new reports, new data coming out all of the time, is that career development for college students at this particular moment is particularly challenging. And here are just a few of the reasons why, or a few of the factors that are contributing to these challenges. Students face an uncertain career landscape. This is because the world of work is changing, and it's changing every day. It's changing every moment, some would argue. Some recent global events are continuing to happen, have recently happened, that have really disrupted and changed the way that we think about and understand the world of work and how we engage in it. So for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing climate crisis, inequities in higher education, as well as in the world of work, as well as systemically and globally. The introduction and sort of vast expansion of AI, and layoffs that have happened as the economy has fluctuated in recent years. So one thing that we see that's happening is that levels of psychological distress among students are extremely high, and some reports are suggesting that those levels of psychological distress, including anxiety, depression, are at the highest levels that have been recorded. And career decision-making decisions elicit hopelessness and helplessness as students are sort of grappling with these uncertain career landscape at the same time as enrolled in higher education and trying to make decisions about their major, trying to make decisions about which experiential learning activities they're going to invest in and what they want to do with their futures. We know also that challenges and setbacks are likely, especially as students graduate from college and enter the world of work, and that there are limited resources that exist to facilitate students' psychosocial skills and self-knowledge to bolster their career readiness. We also know that for underrepresented students on college campuses and university campuses, there are additional challenges. These include increased experiences with discrimination, a lack of occupational information, or extended networks and career role models, particularly career role models that students perceive to be like them or to share attributes that are important to their own sense of identity and sense of self. And we know that academic and career environments may elicit self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So based on that information, along with a lot of other data and literature that we have reviewed systematically, we developed the Tune In to Strive Out Career Wellness Program. This is a 5-module, or in other words, 5 sessions, empirically supported intervention. It's designed to demystify career development, help students learn that career development is an active and ongoing process across the entire lifespan, and to normalize that this engagement in career development is occurring on an ongoing basis. We are seeking to teach students skills and strategies to increase awareness of themselves in relation to the world, and to nurture a sense of community, to destigmatize the challenges that are experienced during career development as a way to foster radical hope. And radical hope is a theoretical foundation to our program. So a few pieces of the program logistics, and then I'm going to turn it over to Pa to talk through an overview of what's included in each module. The program has been and can be offered in virtual formats or in-person formats. We have an extensive facilitator manual that overviews each step, each exercise, gives a lot of the literature review and context for the rationale for including each of the activities. We have slides for each module that are available to anyone who is interested in presenting and facilitating the program. And we've created a student workbook that students are able to use to take notes in, to respond to the exercises throughout the program. We have some brief surveys for students and facilitators that help us to continue to evaluate the program's effectiveness. The program itself is designed to be about 5 60-minute interactive and experiential modules. And again, it's flexible. So it could be a little longer than 60 minutes. It could be a little shorter than 60 minutes, but we've seen it work in a few different formats, and it's been determined to be effective in a few formats. So if you are interested in facilitating the program, you're welcome to do it as standalone workshops. So it's been offered that way, where students just voluntarily sign up for the program because they are interested. Others folks have offered it as incorporated into their courses. So we are happy to talk about and explore options that may be relevant for you.
All right, thank you, Mindy, for that overview. And I'm gonna walk you through what the 5 module actually looks like. I'll talk through what some of the intended outcomes, students' outcomes for each of the module, and then we'll provide a sample exercise of what an exercise within that module could actually look like. So for our first module, Mindy, if you can move to that next slide. Thank you. So for module 1, it's really centered around identifying the students, or helping them to identify their value and believe that they belong on campuses or in the institution. So some of the intended outcome or students' outcome for this module is really around helping the student to recognize the group, so that as a safe space to be reflected and to engage in feedback. And this group could be, as Mindy mentioned, right, could be within that classroom space, or it could be sort of the standalone workshop. The other intended outcome here is to increase understanding of belongingness and how it can be fostered through authenticity and self-knowledge. And then also insight into strengths that can be self-administered through career development to revise their career value and make career decisions. So within this first module, we do emphasize and spend a little bit more time really talking about what is this sense of belonging? What does that actually means for the student? Help them to identify their value. So here is a worksheet value that we go through with the student where we ask them to identify 4 values and then talked about how do they identify each of those values in ways that they can learn or ways that they have honored those values in different spaces. And so again, I think in this first module, we really want to sort of build that sense of safety for who they are as cultural being and that sense of development within or that sense of belonging in their development. And then moving into that second module is emphasizing helping students to start to visualize what their success looks like and determine their course of action. So as you remember in the first module, we really help them to kind of identify what their core value are, right? And how do they want to honor that? And so in this second module, we're building off of that first module. And some of the intended outcome for student here is to develop an understanding of personal and career identity, development as a dynamic, flexible process. So in this module, we're helping students to understand that, you know what, career development is not like there's no endpoint to it. It's sort of lifelong and they can continue to kind of engage in it. And that, you know, different things are going to happen along the way that might shift and move the way you think about your career, and that for them to continue to engage in that process. And then we're also hoping for students to be able to walk away from this module to be able to sort of check in with themselves and to feel empowered to be able to sort of make decisions about their future career in a way that is anchoring who they are as a cultural being. And then lastly, to develop goals that are characterized as personally meaning and important for who they are. So a sample activity within this is that we also get students to really start to think about their life. So I think within the short term as well as in the long term. And so in this activity here, we get students to think about what would it look like if they were to fast forward to when they are 70 years old and they're retired already at this point. What would that life look like for themselves, right? And so get them to really think about what kind of memory have they collected, who are these memories shared with, and what feels meaningful about that. And from this activity, we're hoping for them to be able to start to align what those values that they currently hold, the career that they're trying to pursue, and meeting what this trajectory of when they are retired to look like, and to help them set some of those different alignment. And then in module 3, we are helping students to recognize that, yes, absolutely, that who you are makes, like, it's important to kind of take into consideration as you're thinking about the future, as you think about where you want to be. And at the same time, sort of acknowledging that, you know what, in the world and the system and the society that we live in, that we also need to be able to sort of take a critical perspective of how the structure might also be at play in as barrier in getting towards those different goals that we have, and what are ways that we can learn to overcome them. And so in this module 3 about resist and persist in the face of barrier, we introduce students to critical consciousness and help them to develop this critical perspective about current, personal, academic, and occupational experiences and challenges. We also enhance the resilience by fostering this greater critical thinking ability, taking into context or that some of the contextual pieces, and empower them in this moment to sort of be able to take change and take actions and make change within their current career development and career pathway to be able to meet some of those lifelong goals. And then the last outcome here is to increase the understanding, again, of how systems influence us to act unintentionally and how we can switch to acting more intentionally by fostering this critical consciousness. So an example activity in this module, again, it's like helping them to start setting these future career goals, right? And asking them to ask these active questions about what make career to make career decision and challenge these counter narrative. that, you know what kind of lifestyle do I want? And what job do you want to have after you graduate from college? So again, that projection out there. And then also then thinking about what are some of those external forces and pressure that are impacting your progress or your ability to reach those goals. And then module 4, we are helping students to acknowledge the past, be engaged right now in the present, and then to start to cultivate hope for that brighter future. So this module is really centered around sort of radical hope. And so we introduce them to this notion of what is radical hope, right? Radical hope is, again, being able to acknowledge that, you know, there are these difficulties that I have to overcome or that I have already overcome to be here. And how do I engage in that in this moment? How do I be present right now as I hope for a different future, a better future? And so introducing them to sort of that radical hope perspective, helping them to sort of broaden that for themselves, define it for how they want that to look like, and then gain this understanding and self-awareness of their own feeling and how they might manage that. And acknowledging that the society we live in, I think it's in module 3, right? That sometimes there are difficulty and barriers that we face, and there are lots of different feelings and emotion that comes with that. And the radical hope, I think, allow us to be able to process some of those difficult feelings and help us to resist and push back at some of these different systems and still make and create a pathway for ourselves in the future. And so an exercise within this module is, here's an example, what has it been? And asking them to really kind of think back about or critically reflect on the type of messages that they have received about their career growing up from friends and from family. And then to then challenge some of those different messages about who they should be or where they should be or based on who they are as a cultural being and be able to sort of challenge some of those different counter messages and then empowering them to be able to create their own narrative and create their own career pathway that feels a much better fitting for who they are. And then lastly, in module 5, we're kind of tying it all together. And this is really about building support for that personal as well as the collective action and growth. And so the intended outcome in this last module is to continue to foster this awareness of knowing I am not alone, right? That there are other people who are going through this with me too. And that knowing that I have a plan, that despite some of these different maybe obstacles that I have faced or currently facing right now, I have a plan and I can make some of those different changes and I can get there with the help of the people around me. And then this module will also start to introduce students to thinking about their support system, helping them to start gathering their resources for them to be able to make some of these personal and collective change. The second intended outcome here is to identify options of advocacy, right? And this is about what kind of advocating do I want and what are ways that I can safely do this within this collective and for the greater good of all folks. And an exercise here, a sample exercise here is that we get students to map out their collective. So in this exercise, we get students to really thinking about if they were at the center of this bullseye and thinking about who are the people or the type of resources that are within that inner grain, right? So these are people or support that are hard for them to imagine life without. And then they sort of list those individuals as well as the people in the middle ring and outer ring. And then we ask them to kind of take a step back and look at this map of collective and to really think about where can I, like, who do I want to move, right? Are there things, are there people, are there support that maybe I'm missing that are not part of this this collective? Are there folks who are maybe on the outer ring that I want to move into the inner ring and to start to have some of those different conversations for themselves in terms of how they want to engage in their support system as well as how to advocate for what change could look like for them.
Great, thank you. So just a quick few words about next steps is if you are interested in learning more about the program, if you're interested in learning more about how you might implement the program, whether you're wanting to or considering, or whether it feels relevant for you and your students, please don't hesitate to set up a meeting with us. And here's an email. You can also access us via our website through the CCWT. Once you have that meeting, you'll gain access to our facilitator portal. That portal is where all of the materials I talked through earlier are stored and held for your access. So all of the slide decks, the facilitator manual, the student workbook, some information related to explaining the program to students, etc. And then you can coordinate the implementation. And if you're interested as a facilitator of the program, you could earn a training badge for your LinkedIn profile. That's totally optional. The same is available for students who complete the program. This came out of students actually who had participated, who asked us for this option, and were interested in having a way to demonstrate what they learned as displayed on their LinkedIn profile. So all of this is available to you completely free of charge. This is part of our mission as a CCWT research center. This is also part of, we're very generously supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So all of the materials are available to you for free of charge, and we're here to assist you and to talk through what implementation may look like if you are interested. So thanks so much for taking time to listen to this brief introduction of our program, and don't hesitate to be in touch with any further questions.